What's up, guys? Welcome to the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks for being here, being subbed. If you're not, hit the button. And if you're listening on YouTube, hit the like. It's like walking in the room and hitting that light switch. Let's brighten up the place and get into this politics and BS. This is going to be a reaction. I want to share this because I thought that it was very eye-opening and enlightening for a lot of people who just are really thinking that, Candace Owens, she seems to be turning the corner. She seems to be, changing her mind about a few things. Or maybe I need to change my mind about her because maybe she isn't as bad as a lot of people, especially on social media, paint her out to be. I just want to share this because I thought that it was really good. This is coming from Roland Martin, Unfiltered. So I want to get into this. And he basically gives a breakdown on Candace Owens' use of Black media to attempt to rebrand herself. And I caught it. I really am not surprised that that's what it is. But I want to just get this shared with you guys. I'm going to be giving my reactions to it every time I can just take a break and just share my thoughts briefly with you guys. But I really just want to let this play out. And I'm going to put the full video link in the description box if you would like to see it. Because, again, I thought that it was really good, very informative. And I really feel like a lot more people need to listen to this and see this. So let's just go ahead and get into this right now.
These new age of Republican conservative grifters, individuals who are not real conservatives, who don't care about policy, who don't care about the people. What they care about is denouncing Black people in order to make white conservatives comfortable and then for them to be able to make money off of.
All right. I hope you caught that. And the reason why I wanted to pause it right there for a moment is because for those of you who are new here, first of all, thanks for being here. You can go ahead and subscribe. I am not a Democrat. I am not a Republican. I don't even consider myself an independent because even with that, there's a label and there's just so much toxicity in politics. And a lot of these people, they aren't who they appear to be in the public eye. But I have no issue with anyone that is a Republican or a Democrat or who calls himself a conservative or a liberal, as long as what you do doesn't affect my life overall. I'm fine with that. As long as you're not trying to make me believe what you believe. And I feel like there's a lot of issues with that when it comes to both sides. That's something that a lot of people are just tired of in terms of trying to control everyone's thoughts to agree with what they want people to believe. So this isn't because Candace Owens has been on Fox News or she has been on right-wing podcasts or even consider herself a right-winger herself or a Trump supporter or anything like that. My issue always has been with her is that I felt like she was what you would just term the old term a sellout. Let's just be real. If we want to make it simple, someone like her who has pretty much tried to villainize the worst of the people that are melanated like her for the sake of making other people who don't look like her comfortable and making a huge profit off of it so that they can say, oh, that's a good Black girl right there. Oh, I really like her. Or she speaks well. She's very eloquent, as if you have to go along to get along in order to be able to thrive and be prosperous. But let's just go ahead and continue.
Such as Candace Owens. Chris couldn't stand Candace Owens. We often talked about her and talked about how awful she was and how she was frankly illiterate to the issues and doesn't really give a damn about Black folks. Now, she's recently, of course, she got fired from the Daily Wire. She claimed parting of ways. No, you got fired. And, she's been on various platforms. Going here. And she accepts the invitation from the Joe Budden podcast. And then she goes on the Breakfast Club and she's talking to them. And then she's talking about how, this must be my second or third invitation and how I never got invited to these Black platforms to talk about the things. Well, that's actually a lie. She was, and I'm going to get to that a little bit later. But the reason all of this is important, the reason this is important, is because what you see Candace desperately trying to, let's just say, come back to the neighborhood. You know, that person who you grew up with, and then they leave, and then all of a sudden you never see them again, and then they don't come back to any of the family events. They don't come back to the high school reunion. They don't come back to the church anniversary. Then all of a sudden they want to then pop on back into our lives and go, oh, no, I was loving y'all the entire time, even though the entire time what they were doing was trashing us and distancing themselves from us. And it's not like we actually care in terms of what she had to say. But the thing that was going on was Candace Owens was consistently and constantly denigrating black folks for the amusement of white conservatives. I really didn't care about her interview on Joe Budden's podcast or The Breakfast Club. Nothing against Joe, nothing against Envy or Charlamagne, or just hilarious. I just didn't give a damn about Candace because she's not bright. She's not the brightest bulb in the dark room. Until she posted this. A number of other people were ripping her to shreds, and again, I didn't care. But then I saw this, and I said, I felt like that Al Pacino character in The Godfather 3. Every time I try to get out, they pull me back in. And so Candace posted this. The most brutal smears I ever faced was the media's attempt to convince black people, my own community, that I hated them. Finally, black America is recognizing that they were intentionally misled. That's interesting. That is thanks in large part to the Breakfast Club interview and Joe Budden.
That was the goal. And for those who really have blinders on and there's a little bit of some wax buildup in those ears, they don't really have true eyes to see and ears to hear what she is attempting to do. So for some people, that is working. She is like a broken clock. It can be right a few times a day. We're not here to say that everything that this woman has said is a lie. But, girl, the things you have said about people who lost their lives because of racist people, not just cops, racist people has led and leads a lot of melanated people that she's now calling my community, my own community, which is funny, that you don't care for them or you hate them.
Interesting. It's the media. It's the media. They're the ones who did that. That wasn't me. That was the media. You know what? I heard that media thing before. Y'all remember this?
It ain't us, it's the media. It ain't us, it's the media.
See, it's that part right there. It's the media. It's the media. That was Candace Owens. The media. The media did all of that. The media was saying that I didn't like black people. It's the media's fault that I was being portrayed this way. And now, if I could just go talk to black media, black targeted media, and black owned media, and then now people can have a whole different view. And some Negroes out there, I've seen some of the comments like, oh my God, I kind of agree with her. And, now I got a different view of her. It was the media. Okay? So Candace, was this the media when you appeared before Congress and talked about white nationalism?
I said that in my opening, and I will say it again, you know that white supremacy and white nationalism is ranks nowhere near the top of the issues that are facing Black America. And the reason that you are bringing them up in this room is because it is attempt to make the election all about race as the Democrats.
Not in my case, Ms.
Please
Owens.
don't
I'm
cut me
sorry.
off.
Please do not characterize my motive.
Mr. Chairman, it's my time.
Yeah,
it's my time.
You've got your time, Mr. Menendez. I'll give you 3 more seconds.
Every 4 years, you bring up race, and you knew exactly what I meant when I said hilarious, and you just tried to do live what the media does all the time to Republicans, to our president, and to conservatives, which you tried to manipulate what I said to fit your narrative, okay? I was not referring to the subject matter that is hilarious. I said it's hilarious that we are sitting in this room today, and I've got 2 doctors and a missus, and nobody can give us real numbers that we can respond to so we can assess how big of a threat this is. Because you know that it is not as big of a threat as you are trying to make it out to be so that you can manipulate.
Y'all heard that again. It's the media.
And that was from September 2019. Like, what African American do you know that would not be considered a grifter or a sellout would be in front of Congress of all places, not just on social media, but in front of Congress, testifying that white supremacy is not even really an issue to melanated people? That's crazy.
Okay. Was this the media?
But the real truth of the reason why people hate the Queen has nothing to do with the colonization. It has something to do, which, by the way, just to be clear, the Brits invading Africa actually represents, and this is going to get me in trouble, but it was, if you look at how forward it brought the African colonies, it ended up being a net positive. Now, this is, of course, it's going to get me in trouble because people somehow think that Africans were living happily ever after and things were great, and then the horrible English, British descended upon and murdered everybody, and the French suddenly murdered everybody, and that just isn't the truth. Obviously, the African nations had slavery, just like the European nations had slavery. Wow. So it's an evil that was not started, did not begin in Europe, actually. It can actually be traced back to Muslim origin.
And I wonder if she can name those African countries, because Africa is a continent, like the largest continent, as a matter of fact. But I digress.
That's you talking. But it's the media. Was it the media when you talked to at CPAC, that racist conference in 2019?
First and foremost, stop selling us our own oppression. Stop taking away our self-confidence by telling us that we can't because of racism, because of slavery. I've never been a slave in this country. Stop telling us that we need to be obsessing over our past when we should be obsessing over our future and the potential that we have.
That was Candace talking at CPAC. That's right. That was her. Huh. How about this? Is this the media? You blame it was the media's fault when you own Dr. Phil.
Policies are harmful also to the people that they purport to help. And we have all of the evidence there to look at. When you artificially place a Black American into a school in which they do not belong based on their knowledge, doesn't mean that they go on to get A's. In fact, there was a Black adjunct professor, you guys have definitely heard of him, Dr. Thomas Sowell, who was teaching at Cornell University, and he found that the majority of the Black American students that were there were on academic probation. Now, these students were some of the smartest in the nation, but because they were artificially placed amongst their peers at Cornell University, they were failing on academic probation. These policies have never helped Black Americans. It's just basically policies that are put in place to make people feel good, right? I feel like I'm doing something when in fact I'm actually creating harm. You either know the answers or you don't.
That coming from a college dropout.
Wow. Yeah.
More of her on Dr. Phil.
They're only here for the financial aid.
I'm giving you actual facts.
No,
right?
I'm giving you actual facts based on extensive
you can say, well, maybe they just don't feel good. But that's not the case. I mean, I went to university. I did not feel good, right? I didn't pull the best grades in high school, probably got into a better university than I should have gotten into based on my performance in high school. It wasn't because of my feelings. It's because I wasn't focused on it. And that, we're talking about a cultural problem, what's going on back at home, as was in my circumstance. And none of that is because of institutionalized policy. It almost seems like you guys refuse to accept that, Black students aren't performing well. You feel like you have to have this burden of responsibility when, in fact, if you actually wanted to help, you would look at the facts, re-examine the fact that it's not helping anybody. It's not helping Black Americans to artificially place them into universities, and you'd make effective change.
But you're making the assumption that Black students are academically inferior, and they're not.
No,
they're
you
some
are
of our
actually.
most brilliant students
that's
that we
the
have.
basic. No. That you are making the assumption that they are inferior.
You
It
just
is
said
why
that they don't
you want
belong there.
policies. I'm talking about the students that are based on the policies that you are defending right now, saying that we should have these policies that let them into these universities, not based on their skill set, but based on the color of their skin. So you are assuming that they are inferior.
Again, she blames the media. It's the media's fault of all the things that I've said about Black people that's actually pissed off Black people and that's caused white conservatives to be her biggest cheerleaders. Next.
Socialist, you know that. And you know that our community, after the first 100 years, doctor, come on. The 100 years after slavery, the Black community was doing better. We were going up. Then suddenly they socialized our community via welfare policies, and the Black community started going down. And you're sitting here supporting a candidate that is advocating for making that on a larger scale. He's saying, we're not just going to do it to the Black community, we're going to do it to every community in America. You know his policies do not work.
Again, it's all the media. Here's Candace on the media. Fox News again.
Well, I think it drew attention for a lot of reasons. I think in many ways people on the right felt vindicated. And I know that there were a lot of moderate people that came over and realized that what I was talking about were actually real issues in Black America. I touched upon the illiteracy rates. 75% of Black boys in California not being able to read is a problem in Black America. White nationalism, when Black-on-Black crime, 90.1% of all homicides against Black Americans are performed by other Black Americans. The entire hearing, in my opinion, was a hoax. The continued hoax on Black America, which comes to us from Democrats who want us ultimately to fail by focusing on something that is not harming us when you look at all of the other issues that we are facing.
Oh, it's the media. That's why Black folks were ticked off at me. So when you sat down 4 years ago with the folks at Mike, that's the media, right?
You often talk a lot about how liberals are quick to cry racism or oppression. How do you define racism? Or what's an example of something you find racist?
That's a big question. I think Jim Crow laws were racist. That was racist.
And in the modern context?
In the modern context, I can't think of a policy that is racist. But if somebody walks into this room right now and calls me the N-word, that's a racist term.
And pausing it right there for a moment, that's the issue. It's just one of them, but one of the big issues with this chick. Not to say that every melanated person or every person who is not of the majority ethnicity should just focus on racism, because that's not what I'm even saying, but she's denying that it exists in systems. Yes, there are definitely racist people, but there are definitely systems that were created that involve racism because the people created the systems. And just to name one, which is just so disgusting, how there are systems within real estate it just disqualifies people from really trying to build wealth in real estate, where they will undervalue if you already own property and you want to, say, refinance it, or you want to pull equity out of your home. The appraisal, more likely than not, if you are not Caucasian, and it's definitely if you are African American, or they look at you and see you as a Black person, your property will be undervalued. Go and Google it right now and see how many stories, news articles, and even lawsuits that have been filed against these companies that do home appraisals where the couple was African American, the home was appraised for this amount, which they didn't agree with, and then they whitewash the home. That's actually a term. They whitewash the home. They remove anything from the interior of the home that would make it look like a black family, a black couple, whatever it may be, lives there, and have a Caucasian friend or whatever stand in for them when the appraiser comes to do the appraisal, and then the home value is a whole lot more. It happens so much. That's just one example. So for her to sit there to say, well, if someone walks in a room and calls me the N-word, that would be racist. But I can't really think of anything right now. But Jim Crow laws, those were racist. Girl, bye.
In modern times, I can't think of a policy that is racist. You mean like when you sued your school and you called upon the NAACP to help you and you got a settlement from your discrimination suit?
See, it's only when it benefits her.
Is that modern enough? Please continue.
Pride yourself on being a free thinker.
Correct.
What's an area where you break from or differ from President Trump? Where are you a free thinker as it pertains to his agenda?
There are tons of things that I've disagreed with President Trump on. I thought that he responded too quickly to Syria.
What are some others?
You can give me some policies, and I can tell you.
Anything specifically on the areas that you speak
Black
about,
America,
which
no.
is about race, about Black Americans,
No.
about social policy, social issues.
I'm fully on board with him, and that's why I go around and I speak positively about him, and I want people to understand that we should be trying something different, and Trump is offering something different.
I'm fully on board with everything Donald Trump has said or done about black people, including Charlottesville, including calling African nations shithole countries, including the denigration on a consistent basis of black women, even black women who worked for him like Omarosa, the constant and the vicious attacks on black female reporters at the White House, the vicious attacks on black women in Congress. So you agree with all of that, right, Candace? But it's the media. They're the reason why. Next.
Right, in many ways, she is a victim of the culture, and I've said this over and over again ad nauseum, which is just that victimhood has become almost a mental plague upon Black America in particular, because that word racism is being so overused that society is becoming desensitized to it, and we actually can't even recognize it when it actually exists. We think everything is racist. Things that used to be normal conflicts between human beings, getting cut off while you're driving, having a bad correspondence in a grocery store, you used to just brush it off, shrug it off, and move on with your day. Now people are crying and making videos and pleading on Facebook to say, look what I experienced today. I mean, it's sad for her, but I think it also says, as you mentioned earlier, it's something bigger that's happening in culture that needs to be addressed before it goes too far.
Brush it off, shrug it off. Black people have the cops called on them because they're barbecuing in the park. Black people get accosted by Karens just trying to deliver packages. A little black girl just selling lemonade gets accosted. Black man who's in the street, car is barely in the walkway, gets viciously attacked, saying she's going to call the cops. But Candace says those things are not racist. Just brush it off. Shrug it off. Next.
But can I ask a question? Can you insult a black person? Can you insult a black person without being a racist? That's just a question
I think the minute that he went with lazy, he was using...
Are you saying black people are lazy?
No, but that's
why does the
common
word
racist
lazy
trope.
make you think
That is a
about...
common racist
No, it is
trope.
not. I've never been called lazy my entire life.
Why did
So
he
the
call her
question is,
lazy?
why does the word
Why did he
lazy
call her
make...
lazy?
No, I'm asking you a question. I asked you a question. You said that lazy makes you think of black people. That's what you're saying.
That is a common racist trope.
So that's within you, not
That is
within
a
him.
common
That is
racist
not a
trope.
common racist trope towards black
And it's
people.
incredible that you're
I have
defending
never
a
heard
man
that
who looks
being
at a
slur.
pregnant woman.
I think he's a jerk. No. I think he's an absolute jerk. I agree. You're trying to be insulting because you're trying to move the ball because you just accidentally called black people lazy. That's what really happened.
I know what you were.
Typical racist.
Okay, it's not a racist trope. Lazy is a word that means that you're not doing all the time.
We gotta stop.
Interesting. Go to my first of all. Here's what Candace Owens had to say about Ahmaud Arbery. Ahmaud Arbery was caught on camera breaking into an unfinished property that was owned by Larry English. His mother has confirmed it is him in the video. Please stop with the just a jogger bullshit narrative. Avid joggers don't wear khaki shorts and stop to break into homes. Black man gunned down by racist in Georgia. Those racists were actually convicted of that, but she sides with the racists.
And did she come out and make a statement about those guys? Either defending them again, or maybe not even retracting her thoughts on Ahmaud, but to say these men got what they deserved. But it really sounds like she was saying Ahmaud got what he deserved.
Here's her criticizing LeBron James when he spoke on the issue. Laughter to King James, who would never be what Kobe and Jordan were off the court because he lacks intellect. That's interesting considering he owns numerous businesses and actually, anyway. Bro, you have multiple homes, white personal chefs, gardeners, and housekeepers. If that's an example of literally being hunted by white people, then sign me up ASAP. That's what she said.
And to me, that just goes to show her character in terms of willing to do or go through anything for the sake of a buck. A grifter.
Yep. Oh, she added. Black America when 9-year-old Tyshawn Lee is lured from a basketball court down an alleyway and shot dead by a black gang member, crickets, which is a lie. Black America when a repeat burglar is shot dead after breaking into a home, racism, injustice, protest. Our culture is a joke. No, actually, the joke's on you, Candace. But I just want y'all to understand. See, I'm putting in perspective because these are all things that Candace Owens has said, either on television or on social media about black people. But she wants us to now, excuse all those things because, hey, it was the media. They did those things. That wasn't me. It's the media that actually kept me from my people. It's the media that framed this and made it seem like I didn't like black people. It's the media who wasn't telling the truth about those things. It's the media, huh? Y'all know that. It's always the media. Here's Candace Owens in her own words regarding Juneteenth. Juneteenth is so lame. Democrats really need to stop trying to repackage segregation. I'll be celebrating July 4th and July 4th only. I'm American.
And see, that was something she stated, even though she may feel that way or convinced herself to really believe that. That was a statement that she made to pacify the staunchly, I would say, prejudiced or some racist, the MAGA, that hard right side that didn't even know that Juneteenth was an actual day. An actual day. It's not something that they just made up out of thin air to pacify black people and make them happy. So that's why she came out and said it, because why come out and make a statement like that? So it can get the attention of all of those people that she needs to be able to pacify, please, and have them pay her attention and eventually money.
I'm a Texan. Juneteenth is the creation of black people. Freed slaves of African descent. They're the ones who created Juneteenth. For those of us in Texas, we understand Juneteenth. We understand what Juneteenth means. We understand the importance of Juneteenth. We understand that Juneteenth was about freedom. But you know, your Candace Owens of the world, she also called Juneteenth ghetto. That's what she said. But she wants us now to excuse all these things that she has said. It's the media. It's their fault why my black people, my dear beloved black community doesn't like me because it's the media. Check this out right here, y'all. One more video. Come on.
Well, also, we have breaking news. Candace just gave us this news. Sorry, I forgot. You were blocked tonight. Speaking of, maybe AOC thought you disrespected her. You disrespected AOC?
Yes, I got blocked.
How do you dare do that? You
it's
can't
really
do
sad.
That.
Yes, I mean, I called her an intellectual coward because she says a lot of things and she throws a lot of insults, and yet she will not debate anybody. She doesn't want to debate people on the opposite side of the aisle. And I think that if you actually believe what you believe, you would be happy to sit down and have a discussion and a dialogue with somebody to get to the core of whose ideas are better. And I don't believe that she believes anything that she says beyond getting clicks and getting retweets.
I believe she believes. I disagree. I think she believes.
I don't, because why not just show up and have a debate?
Well, maybe
why
she's
not debate someone?
I find that last one right there to be very interesting. Because she said, why not show the debate? Now, she was expressing her viewpoints because AOC blocked her. And she was, how dare she? Why not debate? Why block somebody who disagrees with you? I find that to be really interesting. Really interesting. Guess who has blocked me on Twitter? Candace Owens. So you're complaining about AOC blocking you, and you're saying, oh, why not have a debate? And why run from it? But that's what you do. Well, let me tell y'all something that went down. 2018, they had the little Blexit conference. And so they were meeting. And so we decided to say, you know what? We're going to attend your conference. Here's the email. Media instructions for the Young Black Leadership Summit 2018. I'm on the email, my then booker, Jackie. And so we get the email from them with the directions about going to the summit. We applied for media credentials. We did. You didn't think we did? Check this out, y'all. Andrew Colvett, and the Turning Point USA, love this. Dear members of the media, on behalf of Turning Point USA, I want to thank you all for applying for a press pass to cover the inaugural Young Black Leadership Summit 2018, hosted by TP USA Director of Communications, Candace Owens, Director of Urban Engagement, Brandon Tatum, and Founder and Executive Director, Charlie Kirk. When we have communicated with most of you directly, if you're receiving this email, you have been approved to receive a press pass to cover the entirety of the event. We're looking forward to an amazing summit and are happy for all to be a part of it. You can pick up your media badge tonight, starting at 6 p.m. at the Hyatt Regency, Washington, in front of Columbia Ballroom, AB. We were like, wow, interesting. You see the schedule here. Donald Trump, he was going to speak, and had the media check in, and they had all this sort of stuff. Special event. They had the White House, and this is how you can register, and all this sort of stuff, and explaining to us the schedule and where things were taking place. And you see the guy, Andrew Colvett, Vice President of Strategic Communications. Oh, my goodness. But then we got this email. Oh, I have to apologize. This email was sent to you in error. Unfortunately, your outlet's press pass request is not approved for this event. I apologize for the mistake. Completely my fault, best Andrew. Andrew, wasn't your fault. The reality is Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk had the press pass canceled. They didn't want us to be there. But see, they couldn't control that White House event, you know, the one they were touting, the one taking place at the White House on October 26, 2018. Guess what happened, y'all? Rose showed up. And so here's what happened outside. Outside, after they had the events inside and I was jousting with a whole bunch of the black folks, I was debating like 10 at one time. It was like talking to children. It was very easy. So we go outside and Candace is out there and she's got on this gray flannel outfit and coat hanging off her shoulders like she's Melania. And she's speaking on a bullhorn. And so I'm standing off to the side and I'm just watching this whole spectacle, y'all. And then all of a sudden she comes to do an interview. So she's probably about 15, 20 feet from me. And when she finishes the interview, y'all, she turns around and she sees me. And this is what happens. She was talking, then she goes. Her eyes narrow and she's like burning. And she goes, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Really?" I said, "I cover black events. Is this not a black event? This isn't the first time I've covered a black event at the White House. How dare you? You don't need to be." So then she starts just ranting and raving. I'm laughing. Then she tells me, "That's right. You called me a coon. You called me an Uncle Tom, and that's why I blocked you." I said, "Candace, you're a liar." I said, "I don't even allow those terms to be used on my show or on my timeline. And I dare you to show me the tweet why I called you an Uncle Tom or called you a coon." And then one of her other little black minions, he comes by. He's like, "Yeah, we're going to show you. We got it." I said, "Oh, please, I'll bet you $1,000 you can't find it." And then she storms off in a huff with her coat off her shoulders and she runs and walks off. Then little Charlie Kirk, his little racist ass, he comes up to me and he goes, "How you doing?" I was like, "How you doing?" And he just looks at me. And I guess he was, bothered because I was like, "Who are you?" He goes, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, dude. Who are you?" "Oh, I'm Charlie Kirk." "Oh." I said, you've been running for me too. I said, "Why don't y'all come on the show and do the debate?" "I'm going to have to check with Candace." I said, "Wait a minute, I'm sorry. Don't she work for you? Why you got to check with her? It's supposed to be your organization." Neither one of them wanted to come debate. Now, why am I unpacking all of this? It's because Candace Owens has been fired from she's no longer at Turning Point, no longer at PragerU, no longer at the Daily Wire. And so she's not, out there wearing jacked up hairstyles with no proper edge up. So she's sitting here now trying to reintroduce herself into Black America. She now wants to have dialogue with Black America. And let me be real clear. I'm not questioning her blackness. I'm not saying that she's not black. What I am saying is you're not welcome to the cookout. You're not welcome to any of our events. You're not welcome to any of our conferences. Because see, when you choose to be a self-hating black person, and then you want us to then listen to you, no. That's not how these things work. Because see, what you are desperate for, you are now desperate for a platform, and you think that, let me just say, the things that I want to say. Let me just say these. No, that's not how these things work. Because see, Candace, you have trashed black people. You have denigrated black people. You have called us victims. You have danced before white conservatives. And you enjoyed your time on that stage, vilifying black people, trashing black people left and right. And now you actually want to come back and have conversations with black people. And you want us to accept that. You want us to forget all of the things that you said. See, we can't do that, y'all. We can't forget all the stuff that you said. Sort of reminds me of that Elmer Fudd-sounding fool, Jesse Lee Peterson. He has said some of the most vile, despicable things about black people you've ever heard in your life. So remember when I did that podcast, PBD, Patrick Bet David, called himself an independent who's a conservative? No. So check this out. So we got this email here. Hello, Tony. I just left you a voicemail. My name's Tony Naimi, a talent booker for the PBD broadcast. They wanted to extend an invite to me to be on their podcast with Jesse Lee Peterson. As you know from Roland's previous appearance on the show, PDB is a fair and balanced host who respects his guests' views and missions. He ain't fair and balanced, especially if you saw my post where he couldn't even the first time I was on there. Please let me know what we can do to get this arranged. I look forward to your reply. Well, I replied. Because see, normally, when you have these, these things, people just sort of say, no, I'll pass. I couldn't do that. I said this, Tanya, pass on your email to me. Let me be blunt as possible. I will never appear with Jesse Lee Peterson. As the song by Bishop Bullwinkle, Hail to the No. He is one of the dumbest, ignorant, and uninformed individuals I've ever met. I've encountered him before. He kills brain cells. He's even beneath Jason Whitlock, and that is hard to do. I've turned down doing his show directly. Jesse Lee Peterson is a grifting real Elmer Fudd. That means he is beneath me in every intellectual category, and I can't even believe PBD would even ask me to appear with that dumbass. So, I had extended an invite 6 years ago when Candace was running her mouth. Her and Charlie Kirk. I have no desire to talk to Candace Owens. There will not be an invite extended to Candace Owens. Because Candace, you said all you need to say about black people. We heard you loud and clear. You can now try to blame the media. You can now try to say, well, my words were twisted. But the reality is, you said it. It came out of your mouth. And so, you can, by all means, you can keep your unseasoned chicken. By all means, you can keep your jacked up edges. By all means, Candace, you can have your potato salad with raisins in it. By all means, you can have your pumpkin pie instead of sweet potato pie. By all means, you can stay exactly where you are in Nashville with your husband, and you can sit here and keep spouting off the nonsense that you always say. But what you will not do is come on this show and show your face and bring your weak, tired, incoherent, nonsensical, trifling comments that have dismissed, denigrated, and degraded black people for the last several years. I hope you made a lot of money doing what you did. I hope that the show that you were engaged in was quite successful for you. But what will not happen is if you're going to come on here and use this show and use this audience as an effort to rehabilitate your trash image. Run along, Candace. You made it clear you didn't care for black people. You made it clear who you were comfortable with. So by all means, stay with them, because we have absolutely no use for you in our pursuit to end inequality and to fight for justice and for righteousness when it comes to people of African descent in this country. All skin folk ain't kinfolk, and you absolutely will be rejected at any cookout.
All right, so that was a lot. And Roland, he's going to do the jabs and stuff like that. I personally don't care. Those are his thoughts, views, and opinions. But I did want to share a little bit of one of the panelists who is a woman, because I also want to share a woman's perspective on what they see about what Candace is attempting to do by rebranding her image And also trying to blame the media coverage of her over the years to make it seem as if she hates the people that look like her.
I mean, Roland, you said it all. And here's the thing. The issue is, I don't care if white media told me to hate Candace, whatever. But the issue is, like you said, is that Candace hates herself. And that's my problem with Candace Owens. It's because she hated herself so much, she happily decided to be a minstrel. And when I think about back to the 19th century, what actual minstrel shows were, it was white people showing up in blackface to make fun of black people to white audiences. So the level of self-hate to be a black person, to volunteer to show up as a minstrel to white audiences, to make fun of black community, and then now to try to come back into community, you know, that's a deep psychological issue, and that makes her unsafe to Black America. And I think that's what many people don't understand when we say she is dangerous to Black America. She is not safe. She has demonstrated that she will sell us out, and we don't need any more sellouts. We need people to step in and continue to build our communities, not show up to hostile environments that don't like our communities and stand with them to make fun of us in the situations that we're in. And she's right. We're not victims. But what's unfortunate is that Candace is a victim of her own making. There's a lot of people who think that what she says is very witty and she has a point. But something that I want to remind our audience is it's simply being a contrarian does not equal intellectualism. Just because you say something counter to someone else doesn't make you right, doesn't make what you're saying factual. In fact, Candace argues and debates like a child. A child uses straw man tactics. For example, if you tell your child, hey, it's time to go to bed, and your child turns around and says, I hate you. That's what a child does, and that's what Candace does. She's a one-trick pony when she's actually trying to debate issues because she does not have the intellectual depth. She does not have the historical knowledge. She does not have the fortitude to actually have real conversations about issues concerning and of the Black community in this country.
And I want to pause right there for a minute because what she said was brilliant. I 100% agree with it. And the only reason why I feel like a lot of people give her this term as being smart or intelligent is because she's not speaking slang words. She's not saying a bunch of and and, you know, things like that in between her speaking. And then she speaks a certain way, if you get my drift. So with that being said, it's not because of how she's just speaking. It's also because of who she has been talking about. Because trust and believe, if she was speaking with the same quote unquote intelligence or eloquence, or she speaks so well, and she was speaking about Caucasians or the majority ethnicity the same way she was speaking about what she calls her own community, trust and believe, none of those outlets of media would have given her the space or time to be on their platforms to say anything. Let's just be clear.
Yeah, she employs straw man tactics where she sets up a false or exaggerated argument, and then she tries to counter the false or exaggerated argument that she sets up. So she is not even honest when she's having debates. When you look at her constant framing, like that Fox News clip where she tried to tell that brother there, like, oh no, you tried to call Black people lazy. I have never been called lazy, when all of us know that the lazy trope has been a target towards Black folks by racist white people in this country by saying that we are lazy. We all know the historical context of that. So for her to set up that straw man argument to try to reframe and say, oh, no, well, you're the racist because you're calling Black people lazy because you're saying Black people are lazy. That's what you believe. That is a bunch of BS. That should be beneath Candace, but it's not, because she is a minstrel. She doesn't even require the paint on her face to actually do real blackface. And so one thing she needs to understand is that the very racists who put her on different platforms and wanted her wanted to use her as a tool of anti-Blackness, they're tired of her. They are dismissing her because she is no longer of value to them. And that is a very cold place to be in, Candace. And you know what? I don't feel for you. I actually have empathy for you because the level of hatred of yourself that allowed you to sink that low.
Whew. With that, sister, I feel like I just need to stand up and give her a round of applause because it's the truth, you know. And this is really deep. I'm going to be sharing more things like this, guys. I really hope you get something from it because, again, this has already turned out to be a crazy year so far. We're only in the first few days of the second quarter of the year. And we're in for a wild ride. I don't know what is to come, but I'm going to be sharing more things like these. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section, respectfully. Thanks, guys, so much for being here. Thanks for liking and subscribing. I'm Beth, just being beautifully honest. So until next time, I wanted to keep it brief, beautiful, and now I'm going to say bye.